After what felt like a years-long lead up to the first-in-the-nation presidential contest, we were supposed to talk about which candidates were ready to build on their momentum out of Iowa. But instead, the mood of the day has been confusion, with seemingly every candidate claiming victory.
Tonight, an improbable hope became an undeniable reality. Iowa, you have shocked the nation because, by all indications, we are going on to New Hampshire victorious.
I have a good feeling we're going to be doing very, very well here in Iowa.
We're going to walk out of here with our share of delegates. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but we feel good about where we are.
After almost a full day of waiting for results, there's still no winner as of this taping, but the state party finally announced just after 5 o'clock tonight that with 62% of precincts reporting, Pete Buttigieg is ahead with almost 27%, Bernie Sanders has just under 25%, Elizabeth Warren's at 18%, and Joe Biden has a little under 16%. The delay in results is being blamed on a coding issue that they say caused the new phone app, which each caucus station was supposed to use to send in the results, to transmit incomplete data. But of note, even before last night's debacle, there was at least one analyst who questioned the wisdom of putting Iowa first because of its lack of diversity, no secret ballot, and so much more. Iowa should not get to hold the first presidential contest every 4 years. If you're sick of hearing me complain about the nomination process, be forewarned. Until it's fixed, the grumbling has just begun. Just begin? At any rate, tonight I think it's time to take it up a notch. Joining me, I hope, to create a chorus of grumbles are Wilnelia Rivera, founder of Rivera Consulting and chief strategist for Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley's campaign. Good to see you again. Alethea Harney is the former senior campaign advisor to Vice President Joe Biden and the former press secretary for Senator Elizabeth Warren's Senate campaign. Good to see you as well. Let me start with you. I assume we all agree that last night was an outrage and a humiliation for Democrats. That's yes, okay, fine.
I'm not going to debate that.
Could you explain to me how releasing partial results in a close race fixes anything?
It doesn't fix anything, and I think if anything, it adds to my ongoing worry that I've had since last year, which is that Democrats, regardless of who you're rooting for, need to run campaigns that actually lead to historic turnouts and not to just more fodder for people to mistrust the process. And I think what we're seeing coming out of Iowa is going to be more of the same.
You know, Buttigieg, in that, with again less than two-thirds count, has a 2-point lead.
Yeah.
And he has shocked the nation if he holds that lead.
Right.
But a third of the votes are to be counted. For the next few hours, Buttigieg is the quote winner. What happens if Sanders passes him at midnight tonight or tomorrow morning? I mean, this is utter and complete chaos.
And not the first time it happened, right? Back in 2012, I believe, it was they declared Romney the victor, but it was really Santorum. For all we know, Santorum could have stayed longer in the race had he been declared the winner. So, but I got to say, I've been in an Iowa caucus. I was in one back in the 2008 election, and after being in that caucus, I said, this is a disaster.
Well, you know, by the way, my comments...
we didn't even have the app to blame them.
I was going to say, long before this. I mean, watching people counting, raise your hands, this... I mean, as I said, all these things.
It's a disaster.
What's the impact, big time? I mean, here's Donald Trump, and I have to say, I agree with a decent amount of this tweet. The Democratic caucus, this is this morning, is an unmitigated disaster. Nothing works, just like they run the country. Remember the $5 billion Obamacare website? They could have done it for 2% of the cost. The only person that can claim a very big victory in Iowa last night is Trump. A lot of that is true, is it not? I mean, this is the gang that couldn't shoot straight.
The GOP talking points, along with Trump, have been perfection. Since the returns, no returns were coming out yesterday, but since the beginning. I mean, the surrogate campaign that they ran in Iowa yesterday, it's actually perfect. And I think the number one thing that I think Democrats need to recognize is that if we continue, as we go through this primary cycle, to make it about just a competition amongst Democrats, we will lose the general.
What does that mean? It's got to be about Trump?
It has to be about us. It has to be
about
the country. Who do we want to be? Because right now, the GOP has a narrative, and it includes one that says that Democrats don't know how to lead.
But it's almost like you're blaming the Democratic candidates didn't cause the problem last night. The Democratic Party in Iowa acted like...
However, their reaction to it all has been very disappointing.
How so?
The fact
What in
that
particular?
Pete claimed victory, and then they put out numbers. The fact the Sanders campaign then put out numbers. You can't do that. And then the Bernie people were saying this is a conspiracy. right? They're saying that the people who invented the technology for the app were Hillary people, and therefore they were intentionally doing this and creating a mess. I mean,
well, by the way, after a couple of comments from Hillary Clinton the last few weeks, would you fall them?
I mean, but no one wanted this to be a disaster.
You know, it's two people who worked in the bowels of campaigns, which I'm guessing most of our viewers have. Let me put up, this is so painful, it is unbelievable for the candidates. This is a summary, according to the New York Times, of how many days or parts of days the candidates spent in Iowa. The top 71 days for Yang, the bottom of the 7 major candidates, 47 days for Steyer. It totally alters. I mean, if you're a zillionaire like Steyer, it's one thing. Your person power, your staff, your finances, your energy. I'm counting on Iowa. I'm not counting on Iowa.
Right.
It's
bananas.
Bananas. It seems to me, though, the primary beneficiary of this, without a close second, other than Donald Trump, is your former boss, Joe Biden. Because it turns out, if these numbers hold, he did very poorly last night in Iowa. When you're the front,
poorly, but
coming in fourth out in Iowa when you're the alleged front runner and the former vice president of the United States.
Limited precincts reporting.
I understand that, but if this holds, you're leaning towards Biden. You're not, by the way, I should say.
I'm leaning towards Biden.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards anybody who's going to beat Trump.
I know,
right?
but you have to pick somebody. You are leaning towards Biden in the short term, are you not?
Biden, Warren, Klobuchar.
Okay, but would you not
Bloomberg.
agree? Okay, let's stay with. Would you not agree in the short term, at least, if he ends up in fourth place here, the fact that any person can attack the credibility of these numbers benefits? Is that not true?
Absolutely.
So what do they? I mean, what do you do? I mean, I'm thinking now about every candidate. I can put myself in the place of Bernie Sanders. Let's assume, for argument's sake, he picks up those 2 points and he ends up winning this thing. Winning, whatever that means after this disaster. Yeah. You win Iowa and you win New Hampshire. Going into South Carolina, there's a different narrative, by the way. Maybe you blow by Joe Biden. But you sort of won, or maybe didn't, Iowa, and then you just win your neighboring state of New Hampshire, and he is ahead in the polls. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. It totally, I don't mean to overstate it. This, in my opinion, has potential to change the whole campaign, no?
Well, I mean, I think, look, I've been talking about this being a long primary delegate run since last year, and this is what we're seeing. Technology fails in elections all the time. They just don't usually become a story. For those of us that do behind the scenes, that it leveled up all the way to the state party, and that they decided to come out with it the way that they did. That's their story. But I still think it's going to be a long primary delegate run for all the candidates. But the real winner coming out of yesterday is Buttigieg. You know why? Because he cut the heart of moderates.
So can we take the technology out of this just for a second and talk about human beings? Let's go up from the state party to the national party. We mentioned this last night, but it bears mentioning again. When candidates of color running for president complain about the debate situation and the power that two of the whitest states in the country had in terms of getting on the stage, no one cared what Booker or Castro had to say. But when Bloomberg, who I assume the party sees as maybe a good shot to knock Bernie Sanders out of this race. When Bloomberg says, I'm not going to raise any money, so I can't qualify for a debate because donors matter, okay, we'll eliminate the donor criteria.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, how can, if you're Donald Trump and you say, this is rigged, this is, as he said last time, this is rigged against Bernie Sanders, it's hard to dispute that, isn't it?
Well, you can also say that maybe the party evolved and realized that barrier was going to not include certain candidates.
But they didn't care about the barrier when it kept
chance.
candidates of color off the stage. They do care when it keeps a billionaire.
Look, the party doesn't want to go left. I think it's clear that what the party is showing us is that it's afraid to go left, whatever that means, because we actually don't understand what that means in this country. And they're willing to go towards the middle in a time where things aren't normal anymore. They're engaging in politics as if Donald Trump and the 20 years of politics leading up to today didn't reconfigure how campaigns are run and who people are voting for. And the biggest problem that we have, it's not who we're voting for, is the fact that more people are choosing not to participate. And that we're not talking enough about.
That's what's really sad.
That is the problem.
The caucuses, Bernie was saying potentially it would be 300,000 people. No.
That's a bad sign, is it not?
It absolutely is.
Well, it didn't matter how many showed up. They didn't count their votes anyway.
It was a disaster. Anyway.
And I mean, exactly. 62% of precincts means about 107,000 people.
On that upbeat note, we got to go. Nice to see you both.
Good to see you
Thanks
too.
so much for your
Pleasure.
time. They did share in the grumbles.